Hey guys, it's Spaces Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Rio's route. The man of the hour has not shown up in an hour. He was not at all in the last part, so we'll see if he shows up in this one. Well, he showed up in like flashbacks and stuff like that, but we didn't have any conversations with him. But now we're running around outside looking for him, so let's see. And I don't know, this I think is the fifth part of his route, I think. And I don't know if we'll get the ending because I don't like we've only made 2 save files, so unless all of our choices rapid fire come up for other save files, because I think we at least what do we normally have 4? And I don't know, he could have more. So his part could be a little bit longer. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I immediately started searching for Rio's base, but the trade route was long and the base must have been well hidden, as I couldn't find a trace of it. Once the Blooms finished searching Theta without any luck, they helped me scour the outside too. But in the end, 2 days passed with no progress. Or they're going to do it rapid fire, It must be around here somewhere. Why can't we find it? The commander's suggestion had been a good one, but we consistently came up empty-handed. Rio's tent was huge. We should be able to see it from a long way off, but there's no sign of it anywhere. With a lot of ideas, I guess this is it. I felt as though a heavy weight had fallen on my shoulders. Man, I'm tired. Come to think of it, I haven't had a good rest in days. My body had almost reached its physical limit. Cody and the others must be tired too. They're still out looking for likely spots. I wonder how they're doing. There was no communication indicating anyone had found a trace of Rio's camp. Everyone's doing their best with the search. I have to keep doing my best too. I don't have time to complain how tired I am. I tried to tap into the dregs of my adrenaline, but I really was running on empty. I could barely move, and my mind was in a daze. This isn't good. If I can't keep it together, I might not be able to stay transformed. If that happened, I'd probably wind up dying in the uninhabitable wasteland long before the third plant was destroyed. Well, that's a plus, I guess? Question mark. It's not great, but it's better than blowing up, I guess. I don't know. I'll take one more look around. If I can't find Rio, I'll head back to Theta. Suddenly, I thought I caught sight of something familiar on the horizon. No way. Is that... I started to run. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I needed to get closer to make sure, but my legs turned rubbery with exhaustion and sent me sprawling into the dirt. Still, I picked myself up and kept going. It's Rio's tent! It looked just like the tent I spent the night in. It blended in so well with the landscape that it was a miracle I spotted it at all. Even so, there was no guarantee Rio was home. I crept up to the tent, trying not to make a sound. Then I peeked into the window. Could you imagine him sitting by the window and whatever, and he looks up and then your face is just in the... Fucking A! Scare the shit out of the man. Shoot. The window's blocked from the inside. I can't see a thing. I listened closely. I could hear noises within. Someone was definitely in the tent. I really hope he's not having private alone time when you're listening in, because that'd be awkward. Listen, I've got to get inappropriate, don't I? I knew it. Rio's here, just as the commander predicted. Confirmation in hand, I left the tent, pulled out my comm, and called back to base. What's up? Anything to report? I found Rio's base. What? For real? For real? Okay, Ryuji. He was right where you said he'd be. I'm impressed. Okay, well, wait. He was right where you said he'd be. Well, along the trade route, 2 days later we found him. But sorta, but also not. Ah, shucks. But now's not the time for flattery. What do you intend to do? I don't have eyes directly on him, but there's definitely someone inside the tent. I'm pretty sure it's Rio, unless he's got another girl in there. Whore. Who's ever's there, I'm gonna talk to them. But you don't know what you'll run into. I'll dispatch the Blooms to your location. Sit tight until they get there. I knew the commander had the right idea, but... what should I do? Talk to Rio alone? Call the others over? Probably talk to him alone. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to romance the man. You know? Ooh. Okay, alright. So we're going to end up going and doing this. Maybe we're going to get speed through our last save files, because here you go. And talk to Rio alone. Ah, shit. I saw the next answer. I scrolled up too far. It's okay. No, I'm going to talk to him alone. I announced my decision after a moment of thought. You know that could be dangerous, right? Maybe, but I just feel like things will go better if I talk to him by myself. I'll save calling the others as a last-ditch option. Rio would understandably feel threatened if all the blooms converged on his space. He might get the idea that I didn't trust him. And if he felt like that, he was less likely to talk. My main priority was to talk Rio down and save the third plant from destruction. You got guts, I'll give you that. Fair enough, we'll let you go in alone. But if things turn sour, you get out of there, got it? Okay, thank you. Alright, be careful. When the call was done, I approached Rio's tent once again. I could feel my nerves worsen with every step I took. I paused by the entrance, took a few deep breaths, and called out, Rio, are you in there? I sensed movement within the tent. I'm coming in. I called out a warning before slowly opening the tent's entrance. There he was, the man I nearly killed myself looking for. Of all the places for you to show up. Rio didn't seem flustered or surprised at my arrival. No, he simply looked annoyed. I'm honestly surprised you found your way here. The commander clued me in. He suspected you had a camp out here based on your past movements. Oh, that guy. Yeah, he's sharp. Should have covered my tracks better. Now Rio sounded annoyed with himself, too. He glanced over my shoulder. Incidentally, did you come alone? Yeah, I thought it'd be better than having all the blooms swoop in here. Didn't want to make me feel cornered, huh? That's right. Softer than a pillow as usual. Some guy says he's your enemy and you confront him without backup. Don't you realize how foolish that is? Still, I felt like it was best for me to come alone. I stepped forward. I was desperate for him to accept the fact I didn't regard him as an enemy. All right, don't get all worked up. Why'd you come here anyway? I talked to Ibuki. He said you're probably planning to destroy the third plant. And if that's the case, I can't turn away and just let it happen. Rio, is what Ibuki says about you actually true? Rio raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. He nodded. So he figured out that much on his own, huh? Anyway, yeah, that about sums it up. Which makes it even more impressive that, despite knowing that much, you still came alone. You're a reckless one, but you got guts. Clearly more than what's good for you. The commander also said I have guts, although he left off the more than what's good for you part. I shook my head, refocused, and explained to Rio why I was determined to see him by myself. I'm here alone because I refuse to think of you as my enemy. I won't do it. If you carry through with your plan to destroy the third plant, that's when I know for sure that you're bad. But in my heart, I just know you have no real desire to harm it. What are you basing this on exactly? Ow, you're being jerky, bird. You want me to pet you, but then you're biting very hard. You're rude. I don't like you right now. I love you, but I don't like you right now. Okay, I don't like your attitude. Something inside you is causing a lot of turmoil. I can tell. Rio seemed surprised at my choice of words. So it's true after all. You really don't want to do this. Rio suddenly started laughing. I blinked in surprise. What's so funny? You're just so incredibly naive. Suppose I am tasked with an order I don't want to carry out. You think simply turning it down will get me out of it? If only things were that simple. Rio's face suddenly hardened and his demeanor turned ice cold. Just like a kid to think that way. Ooh, pulling a gun on us. Rio pulled out a gun and pointed it at me. Why? I don't have special powers like any of you. Makes sense for me to arm myself, right? I didn't want to use this, but since you're intent on getting in my way, I have no other choice. I can fire this before you can even try to use your psychokinesis on me. He had the gun aimed straight at me. My heart was gripped with terror. I clenched my trembling hands into fists. I know Rio won't shoot. I already saw the answer when I accidentally scrolled up too far, so. But also, yeah, I can attack you faster. No, that's antagonistic. You won't shoot, Rio. I wasn't exactly confident about my declaration. I was trying to convince myself, or more than that, I just hoped it was true. I gazed directly into Rio's eyes as I prayed that he wouldn't shoot. You Ryu closed his mouth after that one word. We both stared each other down, waiting for the other to blink. Unfortunately, I lost when another wave of dizziness overtook me. Now, of all the times! The exhaustion on top of my adrenaline-filled blood made my head hurt so badly I could hardly remain standing. Ryo lowered the gun when he noticed my knees starting to buckle. Hey, are you okay? I couldn't help but let out a weak smile. I was right. He didn't shoot. He's actually worried about me. Yeah, like, she's definitely got a big crush on him. I'm not really sure. Like, if he's pinning you against the wall, like, oh, whatever. I'm just joking, kid. Like, whatever. Was that, like, when he did that, like, was he, like, actually kind of into this? Or what? Because, like, I definitely feel like he's got some kind of feelings. I don't know if they're romantic, but it's like the, you know, kind of had fun talking to you and then being able to go up on top of the roof and see everything. You know what I mean? Like, just letting out a little bit of himself because he's never been able to do that. So there's definitely some kind of a bond. But is it a romantic one? I don't really know, you know? Not that I had the energy to voice the thought because my knees gave out from under me. My body was rushing to the ground. Barely conscious, I braced myself for impact. Oh, he's going to catch us, yeah. But I never hit the floor. Instead, I felt arms encircle around my body, catching me. CG of this? Yes? Oh, yeah, there you go. Not bad, it's not bad. I slowly opened my eyes and saw Ryo looking down at me, concern written on his face. He must have seen me start to fall and caught me in time. I smiled faintly as realization sank in. I was right. You were never my enemy, Ryo. Ryo frowned at those words. Please, don't tempt me. I'm begging you. Tempt you? Sir, what do you mean by that? Because the phrasing is slightly inappropriate. The sadness in his voice was all the proof I needed that he didn't actually want to destroy the third plant. Why? Do you want to be my enemy, Ryo? I am your enemy. But do you want to be, or not? That's what I'm asking you. Ryo looked away. It's easier to be your enemy than your friend. His pain-filled expression told me it wasn't easy at all. You're lying. It's not easy. The very last of my energy went into forming that sentence. I was utterly spent. You're completely drained. It's all right. You can rest here. But... Oh, that's me. But you won't go anywhere, will you? I won't. I'll be right here. Just relax. See? It's like the you can relax here. You won't go anywhere. He's like, no, I'll stay right here. Yeah, you can. I don't know. It's a little romantic-y. It's a little romantic-y, I guess. Awkward, but... Then Ryo lifted me up in his arms. I feel really sleepy. Ryo laid me down on the bed, and I immediately felt my consciousness slip away. As soon as I awoke, I remember that I was in Ryo's tent again. Yikes! I just passed out, right? I sat up, panicked, but my head hurt so badly that I was immediately forced to lie back down. So, you're awake? Oh, Ryo. I was relieved to see he was still there, watching me. Good, he stuck around. You passed out from exhaustion. You should rest for a bit longer. Judging by the way Ryo spoke, I can tell not much time had passed. In any case, it didn't seem like he'd done anything drastic while I was sleeping. See, the thing is like, even if, like, it's not romantic-y, but, like, because it can't, like, you could read it either way. You could be like, there's a little bit of something here. Or, well, he just cares about you as a human being. Like, okay, that too. You know what I mean? I sat up slowly, feeling more than a bit relieved. I feel a lot better after that nap. I think I'm okay now. I see. Still, you should drink some of this. Ryo handed me a cup of hot tea. Thank you. I took the tea and brought it to my lips. I gasped in surprise. It was very hot. Ryo just let out a low sigh. You're unbearably stubborn. I'm at a loss. Ryo spoke frankly. I'm refusing to see the danger I pose to you, stalking me all the way out here. I have a feeling you'll chase me to the ends of the earth unless I level with you. Then level with me. He's finally gonna talk! Rio looked at my beaming face and nodded. And then he's got that adorable smirk on his face. I don't know if you'll understand everything, but I guess my only choice is to give it to you straight. Thank you. What are you, like a 1940s gangster? Finally, we were getting somewhere. My heart filled with joy. Rio looked at me with softness and resumed talking. The third plant was created as a test site for a certain objective. An experiment, in other words. It's essentially a terrarium. Okay, so we're living in a dome inside of a dome. Okay. That's what I thought that he meant by the third plant and everything. Okay, we weren't supposed to know. We know the generics, but not the details. Okay. A terrarium that was made by my ancestors long ago. Your ancestors? It was an interesting word, one whose meaning I couldn't quite grasp. I wasn't even sure what it entailed. The third plant's objective was to observe how humans adapt to continuous advances in prosperity. In other words, they wanted to learn what would happen to people in a rapidly advancing civilization. The data gathered on the third plant was supposed to help humans prosper forever. He shot me a look that said, "With me so far." I nodded silently. Okay, so somewhere in ye olde times they built a terrarium, like a bubble, and then they put people in there with advancing technology, and then, well, let me guess, the reason everything was destroyed was because the people inside said bubble destroyed it, and he's like, "You weren't supposed to do that, dumb fucks." Kind of like if aliens sprinkled, like, sea monkeys on the Earth, and they were like, "Let's see what happens," and they're like, "What the fuck did you do? We gave you a nice planet and you ruined it," you know? Essentially, sure, that sounds about right. The third plant was designed with the highest tech. It was a showcase of humanity's greatest achievements. It was set up to meet all of the necessities of life, a self-sustaining environment that offered food, materials, and shelter. And the people living inside were completely cut off from the outside world. They only knew of the third plant. Soon they entirely forgot the outside. Yeah, okay, so we're living in a fucking bubble. But as they chased greater prosperity and levels of comfort, things took a dark turn. Human nature, okay, yep, alright, makes sense. The third plant's environment began to break down. Pockets of uninhabitable land started to spread. And that's when you were all forced into colonies, and the rest of the land gradually became barren. But you know that much, I'm sure. Real's words felt too enormous to be real. But what reason did he have to lie now? Somehow I sensed that he was telling the truth. I gotta be honest, this is an awesome twist, though. Like, again, I kind of pegged in the are we like just an experiment, and then we came to the outside world and I was like, okay, well, there goes that. Because, like, I was thinking we're in this dome, but the dome is the experiment. But no, we are! We are in an experiment, so I wasn't really wrong. It's just the dome we were in, we fucked up so badly we had to make domes inside the domes to live in. And he, like, holy shit! You know, bravo, game. Bravo for getting deeper on this craziness. That's amazing. So the people of the outside world have been watching the third plant all this time? Are the higher-ups, like, communicate, like they're the people managing the experiment? Yeah. We took the events as a lesson on how to avoid our own destruction. And honestly, we're prospering to this day. We're an example of what not to do. Fair. So we only exist as a guide on how to avoid doom for the people on the outside. I felt conflicted, to say the least. I mean, right? In recent years, it's been decided that the third plant's declining too rapidly. Its environment is beyond salvation. Because we can't live anywhere except inside the colonies? Yeah. Those of us on the outside are evaluating the third plant to see if it still has any merit as a testing site. And there's even some concern that the rot inside the third plant might spread to the outside. So if it's no use to us anymore, it has to be destroyed. Yeah, but like, how would you... Okay, the rot inside seeping out. I mean, you think about it. Yes, you're on an island in the boat. How do you self-sustain? Because, like, even the dome, okay, the air is trapped in here. And you've obviously, but like, how do you stop, like, the disease from seeping into the soil, getting into the water table, getting out into the ocean, and then getting into the rest of the land? You know what I mean? Because the planet itself is a self-sustaining thing. Like, water on one side flows all over through, you know what I mean? And like, You poison one lake, it's eventually going to spread out. You know what I mean? It gets into the land because that's how it works. So, like, how are they? How do they make? I mean, I guess because it's in the future anyway. That they didn't just the bubbles that we live in are we can get in and out of them. They're not like glass domes or anything. They're magic tech. So there must be like an entire fucking bubble, not just a dome, a bubble around this area. So all the water, the land, everything inside is sealed up, or it's just the land and it's sealed off. It's totally sealed off where even if anything sinks down in, it's hitting bubble layer. You know what I mean? So, like, okay, that's the only way. Otherwise, like, well, you would have doomed everybody anyway, you know? But then how would destroying it help? Because we gonna kill it with fire? I mean, I don't know, you know? If there's still something of use to be found within the third plant, we'll continue to observe it. But there are those calling for its eradication. Rage bubbled up inside me. How dare they? That's horrific. They have the gall to think of us as nothing more than lab rats? I mean, the people inside the bubble are also using a lot of people inside the bubble as lab rats. So, like, I mean, to be fair, you're the lab rat of lab rats. You're a lab rat's lab rat. It's great, actually. Because, like, if you think about it, all of us that were vectors or have anything done to us, like me, I'm a product of lab rats, but, like, all of us, the blooms, everything, we're lab rats, essentially, to, like, the researchers. But the researchers are actually also lab rats. So, like, it's a lab rat having a lab rat. That's so fucking mind-boggling. It's great. I love it. Good job. Fun times. I understand how you feel. Unfortunately, neither I nor any of the other moderates could sway opinion. The decision was made for an assessment officer to infiltrate the third planet and decide what needs to be done. And that's you. That's right. I was specifically chosen for the task since I'm a direct descendant of the people who constructed the third plant. It's a lineage thing. I know I hardly fit the image, but I'm from a major dynasty. When I was a kid, I hated being from a famous family. Now, though, I appreciate it. Something in Rio's eyes softened. It was clear he thought a lot of his family's background. Sounds like your family's wonderful. They are. Want to see a photo? And maybe that's the pendant. It's like his family. Oh, that's what it is. That's it. It is the pendant thing that he was holding as a locket with his family's. That's adorable, actually. Stop it. That's so cute. Rio pulled out a pendant, opened it up, and showed me what was inside. That's me and my wife, and these are our 5 kids. I mean, maybe those are his parents and those are his siblings. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, otherwise, who are all these people? The picture was of children, a mom and a dad. Everyone's faces were lit with smiles. Because I'm serious, how are you going to fall in love with a man if he's got a wife? This is obviously a heavy responsibility. I didn't want it to fall on the shoulders of anyone else in my family, so I volunteered to go. I see. So he decided to come here in order to protect his family. He was certainly a loyal son, that much was clear to me. Because, like, if you think about it, like, if something happened to you while you're here, I'm assuming he's, doesn't have a family aside from parents and siblings. But, like, you could be like, oh, yeah, my parents, I don't want my dad or my dad to have to come here because what happens then? Or if he has younger siblings, I don't want them to be without a parent. Or also, like, my 17-year-old brother shouldn't be responsible for this, if he has, I don't know. Or you might have siblings that are married with kids, and you're like, I don't want my sister or my brother to have to come along and abandon their kids, and I'm single, I have no kids, so, like, hey, why not, That's sweet. I'd be like, fuck that shit, I ain't volunteer. I'm not volunteering to go into the Hunger Games for you. Your name was drawn, bitch, bye. Well, that sucks, I'll miss you, sweetie. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I don't think I just automatically, no, I volunteer, because I got to be like, do I have to? The choice would weigh on me, but in the end I'd be like, well, I miss my sister and all, because she got taken into the Hunger Games, but, maybe I should have volunteered, but like, nah. I never said I wasn't an asshole, you know what I mean? When I thought about the burden placed on him, I don't think I've ever given much thought to my ancestry. Maybe it's because I'm an orphan. Who knows? But then again, I guess most people don't think too hard about it. But not you, Rio. You've never met these distant ancestors of yours, but even now, years later, you're carrying on their work. And why do you look so upset? Because I finally understand. I know why you always seem so sad, so conflicted. Why tell me all this? They won't get away with this! Us meddling kids. Okay, so we might get our ending here because we're getting all of our save files. I think this is our last save file, so this might be our last choice. I hope it's, they won't get away with this! Us Scooby-Doo kids will stop it! Yeah, it is! Hold on. It's also our last choice, so. They won't get away with this! How are we going to wrap this up in a nice little bow right now? Well, I'm assuming they won't. And that's going to be the grand finale kind of route, I would assume, where everything comes out and everything. Trying to destroy the third planet for their own single-minded reason, making you suffer. I don't want that to continue. Rio's mouth lifted into a melancholic smile. No need to get worked up to the point of tears on my account. Could you imagine, though? Okay, wait. So first of all, let's go back up, because, like, the route's not bad, but, like, okay, let's bring up the age thing again, okay? I know, I'm harping on it here. Okay. The age thing's a little inappropriate. Fine, we're in a wasteland, whatever. He's not. He's from a normal motherfucking society. We're a lab rat. First of all, could you imagine this man rolling back out? Hey, I brought one of the lab rats home with me to be my wife. That would be like, we need to have him committed. Somebody check him out. I think he was breathing the air in there too long. What the fuck? Right? Okay? They would think he was insane. Now, imagine this man rolling up. I brought one of the lab rats. Also, she's like 16, but like, whatever, it's fine. Excuse me? The fuck? I might be 17. Let's just call me 17, okay? Let's just round it up. Instead of being a 12-year difference, let's only make it an 11-year difference. That's not any different, really. But like, Really? You're gonna roll back out to your moms and your dads? You might have nieces and nephews my age. What the fuck? You know what, let's not think too much about it, because now it's making it weird. I mean, I think the weirdest part is rolling up and being like, I brought one of the lab rats home to marry. We're in love. His parents would be like, you breathed some of the air in there, didn't you, dumbass? Like, you know what I mean? They'd be concerned. I think they might have him committed. I don't think we're going to have a happy relationship outside this bubble. You know? Anyway. You're far too nice. You shouldn't reveal that soft heart of yours to an enemy. Don't you know that? You have the right to kill me. Go ahead and do it if you want. Killing me won't change anything, though. Another assessment officer will take my place. I can never kill you, Rio. Never. Objectively, it made sense for some authority to determine the third plant. I don't know why I would keep saying planet. Anyway, determine the third plant, with its damaged environment, rampant vectors, and social decay, needed to be cleansed. But it wasn't a simple task for Rio to carry out. He'd been wrestling with guilt this entire time. I could never kill him. I felt a fresh wave of anger wash over me. I couldn't just lay down and accept the end of the third plant. I took a deep breath to steady myself, then turned to Rio. Rio, please lend me your assistance. What? I couldn't hurt Rio, but if he was just going to give up, I'd have to take the reins myself. If you're willing to face death, that means there's nothing left to be scared of, right? I gave him a challenging grin. In that case, help me. No, I mean, help us. What's that supposed to be? A threat? Just so you know, I don't have any kind of power to lend. It's not a threat. Right now, I was just interested in getting my story straight. It was too early to give up. Rio, have you reported back with the findings of your investigation yet? No, not yet. But I'm almost out of time. I was planning to make my report soon. If the outside world was waiting for Rio to check in, then we might still have time. What are you going to tell them? I hate to say it, but the third plant's breaking down fast. I have to tell them that their suspicions are correct. The experiments that were supposed to fix the environment failed so badly, they resulted in the vectors. This place is on its last legs. Rio's voice was heavy with regret. It seemed the presence of the Vectors was a particularly big mark against the third plant. Huh. But in that case, so why haven't you made your report then? I thought my question was innocent enough, but Rio looked taken aback. Why? The environment's damaged beyond repair. Vectors are running rampant. You got a good case for letting them destroy the third plant, right? All you have to do is make the report and you'll be done with all of it. So why haven't you taken that last step? If Rio was so resentful of his role, and if he truly didn't care about Theta or the people in it, then why didn't he just make his report and take off? When Rio finally answered, his voice sounded strangled. You know why. One word from me can seal the fate of a world. You think I could do that so easily? For a hot second, the you know why. Because you're in love with me? He's like, because I could kill a fuck ton of people. That's kind of fucked up. It's not about you, girl. Valid. His eyes were filled with anguished resignation. I felt like I finally understood the conflict within him. Rio did care about the third plant and the people living in it. Far more than I'd given him credit for. I was sure of it. And so I asked him, like he always acts stone cold and like he gives no fuck, but it's the, I have to try to fulfill my job, but it's also then it's the, I might be resigning these people to their doom, you know? Could it be, I mean, what I'm thinking is, you don't want the third plant to be destroyed after all, do you? At least that's how I wanted him to feel. I really did. Rio gave me a bitter smile. Here's the thing, like, I understand, like, the problem would be the Vectors. Okay. And getting people, like, you'd be sacrificing the Vectors, but, like, you could get the people out. You know what I mean? The people aren't contaminated. Sure, me and the blooms, but, like, if we don't have our charms to be able to transform, we wouldn't be able to transform, right? I mean, I might be able to, and like Ibuki, Yukonami, and Hyuga, and like Lizzie, but like, so there's some like questionable people, but for the most part, most of the people living in Theta, right, and the other colonies are just normal people trying to muddle through their life, and if you don't want to kill them, why can't they find a way? Yes, it would be a shock to be like, hey, by the way, guess what? You were living in a dome, but like, hey, look, there's a world outside that we fixed it. You could just make up I don't know. You know what I mean? Have somebody be like, okay, let's just tell everyone we figured out a way to fix the environment, but it means we got to put everyone in cryogenic sleep for a little while, and then put everyone in cryogenic sleep, and then, you know, for like 2 weeks. Instead of like, so it's gonna be like 10 years, guys. And then you pull them out and you're like, look, the world's back! Yeah, good job, guys! You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, make up a story, put them in like a, you know, for a couple days and then just pretend it's been like 100 years or some shit. And be like, oh shit, we forgot about you guys. There was like an accident and you guys got buried, but like, welcome to the planet. It's like 3,000 years later. Because they probably don't even know what motherfucking year it is, to be fair. These ain't the brightest crayons in the box, to be fair. Like, because you know what I mean? And they've been hiding a lot of stuff, so most people don't know a lot of shit. So you could easily bamboozle them, I feel like. And, like, save the people. Yes, unfortunately, that means you're killing the Vectors. But they're kind of like monsters. So, like, unfortunate. You'd have to, like, put them down, and that would suck for them. But it's probably the nicest thing you could do. Put them down gently, you know. But it's just the question of, well, what do you do with people like Yukonami and Hyuga and Ibuki who don't need charms to transform and who are half monster? That's where it gets dodgy. But you know what I mean? Like, without those experiments, if you take the Vectors and the half-vector people out, and you just look at the regular people, there are solutions to get them out of here and, you know, whatever, and just lie and make up a story and no one will be any of the wiser because, you know, they know nothing, you know? Without killing everybody. Just saying. Yeah, unfortunately, you'd probably have to kill a bunch of people because you'd have to kill all the Vectors, and that's killing people, but, you know, Still the lesser of two evils. The trolley problem, right? Do you kill one person or five? You know? Like, it's usually always going to be like, I mean, in this case, that's kind of Rio's decision. I have to kill everybody here, the thousands of people that probably, maybe tens of thousands that live in this dome, as opposed to, because otherwise, if we let this experiment continue on, the damage in here could seep out and kill billions of people that are still alive and thriving in the world, so. Yeah, it's different when you know them, but anyway. At least that's how I wanted him to feel. I really did. Ryu gave me a bitter smile. Well, you're to blame for making me feel like this. Oh, are we getting romantic now? I tried to stay professional. Try to avoid fraternizing with the people here. That was my plan, anyway. And then I came along and stalked you. I tamped down my emotions, focused on my work, and just got through it all day by day. I thought I could avoid forming attachments. Rio fell silent, then let out a loud sigh. Turns out I was fooling myself. The more time I spend here, the more I realize that the people living here in the third plant are just like me. Ordinary people going about their lives. Knowing that their fates could be sealed by a single report from me. Well, the guilt was crushing, to say the least. Then you came, and you made it so much worse. Despite Rio's harsh words, he smiled, almost bashfully even. Is he blushing? You just kept on going after me. It's no wonder I eventually started feeling a bond with you. See, I mean, I could believe that, because he definitely, like smiling, like, oh, wait. I've never seen Rio look so mellow before. Rio looked at me so warmly, I felt myself start to blush. The sight of Rio was so different from the sight he usually showed me. Made me a little nervous. What should I do? I can't look him in the eye right now. Just kiss him. Sure. I get my face turned away from Rio, unable to bear how soft his expression was. I guess I kinda barged in on your work a lot. Oh, now you realize? His voice was heavy with sarcasm, but still kind. I felt like I'd finally been accepted by him. Gave me an odd sense of happiness mixed with a little embarrassment. I think maybe I was waiting, too. Waiting? Nervously, I finally returned his gaze. His kind eyes met mine. When you came back to see me the second time, you said you were worried I'd be gone, right? And at the time, I wondered why I didn't move on like I'd planned. I didn't understand my own choices. But deep inside, I think I just wanted the chance to see you again. This is getting romantic. It is a little awkward because, again, the age difference is a little much, but I cast my mind back. The thought had crossed my mind, too. I wondered if Rio stuck around in case I came back so that he could talk to me again. Knowing that wasn't just my own wishful thinking made my heart start to beat faster. Jeez, for him to say that, it almost feels like he's admitting that he has feelings for me. I mean, I had to calm down. Now wasn't the time for this. I tried to tell myself that, but I couldn't keep myself from blushing. Bird, stop it. Rio noticed and let out a chuckle. Then he narrowed his eyes slightly. You're fascinating, you know. You come off as a sweet girl, but you're deceptively stubborn. You really managed to get under my skin. She'd like to get under your clothes, but what? Nothing. You have a talent for softening people up. It's kind of strange. Rio... At first he seemed so mysterious, so mature. He kept his distance from everyone except business matters. That's how I once saw him. But now, I wanted to talk with him more. I wanted to be with him, hear his stories. And I wanted to tell him mine. I wanted it badly. Maybe I couldn't help wanting to see you again. I wanted to admit what I was up to have someone judge me so I could find peace. I guess I used you to soothe my troubles. His voice was heavy with self-deprecation, as if he was repenting for past sins. Pathetic, right? A grown man asking to be judged by a child, and now you're getting... Okay, stop bringing it up! It's not pathetic. I found myself yelling my answer before I knew what I was doing. Rio's eyes widened. He was clearly surprised by my rebuff. Here's the thing. It's like, I get it when he said, I wouldn't be interested in a kid like you, whatever. Okay, first off. But the fact that now you're like, it's almost like you're getting romantic and then you said a child, like maybe don't keep bringing that up because it does make it weird. Like, I could get past it. It's in the back of my mind and it's like, it's a little weird, but I'll get past it because I'm just gonna I'll just mentally age her up in my head. You know what I mean? And it'll be okay. I'm going to take it for the route for what it is. Just take about the age difference thing. But when you keep bringing it up and being like, you're like a child, you're like a kid, don't keep saying that. We were having a moment and you made it weird. You know? I hated being called a child, even when I knew Rio wasn't doing it to discredit me. I just hated being marked as different from him. As if he was trying to put distance between us. Well, maybe because he also knows it's inappropriate. But like, again, if he stopped saying it, I wouldn't feel this way. I mean, I still would, but I'd be like, it's a little inappropriate, but I'm okay with it. You know? But like, stop bringing it up. Sure, I might just come across as a kid to you, but I'm not just some silly child who's incapable of understanding your feelings. You get that, right? That's why you wanted to talk to me. Or am I wrong? Well, Rio lifted his eyes, making contact with mine once more. I felt a rush of happiness that caused me to speak excitedly, sans filter. Telling someone your feelings and asking them to listen, that's not using them. At any rate, I sure don't feel like I was used. Spacey. Rio's gaze wavered, like I'd seen it do once before. It was as if he was crying out for help, but still wasn't sure he should accept it if it was offered. Then he belted out a laugh as if letting go of a heavy weight. All right, let me rephrase. I'm the one who's acting like a kid here. I felt as if the last wall between us had finally come tumbling down. I smiled at Rio. But like I said earlier, I can't really do anything to help you out. I'm just the inspection officer. I don't have any kind of sway, but do you happen to have any ideas? Rio said he couldn't intervene, but it sounded like he was willing to help save the third plant any way he could. That makes me so happy. If Rio was willing to help, then we still had hope. I have an idea, but it'll take more than just the two of us. We'll need everyone to work together. I laid my hand on top of Rio's to let him know that he wasn't alone. I called the commander to let him know that I'd found Rio and that we were returning to Theta together. We're coming back together. All of the Blooms and the commander were waiting for us when we arrived. Hey, welcome back. Hi. Rio looked awkward. I'd never seen him like that before. Sorry to keep you all waiting. So you really did manage to snag Rio. I mean, that's the point of the route. Oh, that's not what you meant. Don't talk like that. I'm not some wild animal. So you say, but we've been looking for you everywhere. We're beyond exhausted. I'm sorry about that. So you're from the outside world. You don't look any different from us. They'd met often in the line of duty, of course, but this was the Bloom's first time seeing Rio after finding out his true origins. Mocha was fascinated. Mocha, it's not polite to stare. That's not stopping you from gawking. Let's get to the matter at hand. The commander's pointed fake cough got everyone back on track. All right then, Rio. Care to explain? Rio nodded and took a step forward. You've probably already heard by now, but the third plant is facing serious peril. Rio explained everything that he had already told me in the tent. He talked about the construction of the third plant, his orders, and the impending decision to have the third plant wiped out. They want to destroy us? Are you kidding? That's tyrannical! Kaori and Haruka had strong reactions. Sena and Mocha, however, seemed troubled. You knew about this, Commander? What? Oh, yeah. But I had no idea things were this serious. Are you for real? Ugh. No doubt everyone had thoughts about that, but we were unfortunately out of time. I apologize for asking when everyone's so tired, but we need help to save the third plant. Everyone nodded, clearly on board with what I was saying. Indeed. Now is not the time to rest. We need to make a plan. What can we do, though? We need ideas. Moko's right. We needed to brainstorm ways to save our future. First, we need to stop the outsiders from deciding to destroy us. How can we make that happen? Rio thought for a moment before speaking. The third plant's survival or destruction
hinges on whether or not its existence still has value, so they need to know what's worth keeping around. We need to emphasize how the third plant can still benefit the outside world.
Then Rio's face fell.
Despite my research, I haven't found anything.
No doubt Rio worked hard to find good things to report about the third plant while he was here, but in the end he couldn't come up with anything. It wasn't encouraging that he could search all the time and still return empty-handed. Our options were dwindling. Okay, so you haven't found anything yet, right? Why not tell the outside your survey isn't done? There's no way for them to check up on Rio's progress, right? Maybe you can tell them there's still areas he hasn't surveyed yet.
I get where you're coming from. Rio, how much longer can you delay your report? It's already way overdue. If I delay any longer, things will start to look suspicious.
Rio's answer weighed heavily on everyone. So delaying it isn't an option either. If only there was something the rest of us could do. If only there was something here that could benefit all of humanity, not just the outside world. I looked down at my hands and the outfit I wore. Suddenly I realized something. Oh, if that's the case, we could... Shh! Rio put a finger to his lips. Coyote and the others were frowning. Then they all fell back into deep thought. I was just going to say that our superpowers might have appeal outside the third plant. Am I not supposed to suggest that? Rio acted as if my powers were unusual, so I automatically thought stuff like that didn't exist on the outside. But Rio had cut me off as if he knew what I was about to say. The glare he shot me was razor sharp, too. I wasn't sure why, but it was obvious I wasn't supposed to bring up the subject. Well, it's likely Rio thought of that idea already. I guess it's not a solution to her problem. No, that's interesting, though. I gave my head a shake and tried to think of another idea that didn't involve our powers. It's hard to say what the third plant's actually worth. The environment's wrecked. There are dangerous vectors roaming around. As I listened to Coyote think aloud, I recalled something Rio said earlier. He suggested that the birth of the vectors put the final nail in the third plant's coffin. True, this place might be useless, but if only we could convince the outside there's still some value here. An idea was taking shape in my brain. I started speaking as it solidified. What about the flower crystals? Everyone turned to look at me. Rio frowned at me, tossing out another idea from left field, but this time he didn't try to silence me.
The flower crystals. And the things the vectors drop. What do you plan to do with them?
I rubbed my brow, thinking hard. Why hadn't I considered the flower crystals before? I gathered my thoughts and started to explain. Flower crystals can only be found where vectors live. The outsiders have no idea what they're worth, do they? Their only information they have to go on is whether whatever Rio puts in his survey report. Why don't we use that to our advantage? My explanation was a little clumsy, but Rio and Coyote seemed to get what I was saying. I see. We can suggest the flower crystals are worth something. That might be our loophole. It's true they know nothing about the crystals. If we spin it right...
So we try to fool the outsiders.
I think it's a pretty good idea, but what do you think, Rio? I looked at Rio. He seemed to be mulling over the possibilities.
It's certainly an interesting plan. The thing is, how do we demonstrate the crystal's worth? We really need to sell it or they won't bite.
In that case, maybe we can show them the crystal's effects. We could say the crystals are beneficial to humans, that they increase strength, something like that. We could pretend the crystals simply provided a beneficial boost to people. We wouldn't mention superpowers, so ours would remain hidden. So the outside world, they're monitoring this experiment. They know about the vectors and everything, but they don't know about the blooms? That seems kind of fucking weird. Unless it's because Rio's kept that a secret, but why? You know what I mean? Or like someone else had been here and like it's weird that they know about the experiment, they know about the vectors, they know about what's going on here, they're clearly monitoring it, but they don't know about the blooms and superpowers? How does that jive? I get it. We pretend to use the crystals and be like, wow, just look at my power. We can totally sell that to them. Assuming all goes well, what if the outsiders try the crystals themselves? We could say their efficacy depends on the innate aptitude of the person using them. We'll have them fooled. Wow, that was brilliant. We didn't have access to many flower crystals, so repeated tests would be impossible. We can say that they're super powerful, but also super rare. We can make them believe it.
Right. If we pretend the crystals are some kind of mysterious object that requires further study, I can extend the length of my stay. I can tell them my studies have determined the crystals, though rare, can be a huge asset to humankind. That'll drum up some interest. I'll say the third planet itself is a decimated wasteland, but the crystals are clusters of a new type of energy. Not bad at all.
Now Rio was seeing the bigger picture. The Blooms were also clearly on board with my plan. The positive responses gave me the courage to add something else to my plan. We should report our physical data to them at the same time. I think that'll up the credibility of the crystal's powers. I also think it'd be a good idea to get Moravia and the others to help us out. Everyone's faces stiffened the second I said the name Moravia.
We'll even mention Moravia.
I'd planned to explain that part of my adventure later, but now was as good a time as any. I took a deep breath. The thing is, when I was gone, I traveled to where Moravia and her crew live. As expected, everyone's eyes grew huge.
What? Well, that's news to us.
Sorry, I don't have time to go over the details now. The important thing is I made friends with Moravia. I need you to know that much.
Okay. I have no idea why you decided to make friends with the enemy, but we'll put a pin in it. You better have a good explanation, though.
Counter and the others didn't seem to get it, nor were they happy, but they backed off temporarily.
So you want Moravia and her crew to help? Do you mean by submitting physical data for the cause?
Yeah, a sample of biological data from people who've used the crystals. It's going to be a harder sell if there's just 4 of us. 4, there's 5.
You're right. A bigger sample would be better. If we tell them it's for the good of the third plant and the vectors, and they might cooperate.
Rio stopped talking and turned to me with a grin.
You're way more cunning than I gave you credit for.
Cunning? That's an interesting word to use. It wasn't sure, but I guessed Rio was trying to compliment me. It wasn't, I wasn't. Working with the Vector sympathizers. Everyone's matching sour expressions said exactly what they thought about teaming up with Moravia. I feel like this leans into, like, the finale kind of route where, like, maybe you're all gonna, like... Although, I think in that one, it seemed like there was, like, the villainous justice and the regular justice route. So it's kind of like... It would have been a good way to, like... Okay, now we got everyone, and now this is the overarching. Now we all have to join together and try to fight the outside world type of thing. And that would have been a way to do, like, the finale kind of route, you know? Because there's really no way to get a satisfactory end here. It's going to be like, I bought them off for a little while. Kind of like how some of the other ones, it's like, okay, and we'll figure out a plan. And you're like, and nothing really happens. And you're like, okay. You leave it very open-ended, you know what I mean? I understand why you're not hot on the idea, but if we don't work with Moravia's crew, this plan won't work at all. After all, this wasn't just about us. If the outsiders carried out their plan, everything in the third plant would be history. This time I want them to see how incredible Ibuki's powers are, no matter what it takes.
All right then, fine. Can't say I relish the thought of working with Moravia, but we have to stick it to those outsiders.
Oh, I read that. Okay, that was Mocha. Okay, so I'll just read Seina's. I read Mocha as Seina. I'll read Seina as Mocha.
I concur. We should give her a best shot at the very least.
Okay, you know what? I can't do that. I can't do it. I'll read it back.
Can't say I relish the thought of working with Moravia, but we have to stick it to those outsiders. I concur. We must give it our best shot at the very least.
That makes me feel so much better. It was going to drive me bonkers.
It's better than just rolling over and waiting for some outside force to destroy us.
Everyone seemed on board with my plan at last. I breathed a sigh of relief.
But how do you intend to convince Moravia to team up with us?
I'll talk to her. She'll listen to me. This was my plan, after all, so recruiting Moravia was my responsibility. Rio took a step towards me.
Well, come along. If you go alone, I'll just worry.
What? Really? Rio's declaration was heartwarming, but then he grinned impishly as he continued.
It's not like there's much left for me to do in Theta. I'd be better as field support for your mission. I'm sure Moravia will cooperate if you're the one who asks, but if she needs persuasion, that's where I'll come in.
The assistance was welcome. I smiled and nodded. Thank you. That'd be a huge help. I suddenly realized that the others had fallen silent and were listening to our conversation. They're over there like, are these two in love with each other? The fuck is happening? This isn't appropriate. What's up? It's just, Rio's not like he used to be. Yes, I dare say he's gone a bit soft around the edges. I nodded. So even the girls had picked up on Rio's recent personality shift.
Please don't think about it too hard.
Rio seemed embarrassed to have others point out the obvious change in him. He tried to shrug it off. Well, first of all, he comes off as a hard ass and very not wanting to talk to anybody, very much robotic, because he's here for a mission and he doesn't want to get close to people. But then he kind of is like, but these are people and like whatever. And then we kind of break down his wall a little bit. I think he's kind of a softie like this to begin with, but extra softie for us. So like, even if there was no romantic relationship going on here at all, I think they would have been like, are you actually being like not a robot? What the fuck? But there's the added, they're like, he is softer around the edges than a robot should be, but then super soft because I think he's in love with you. So there's that added level of like squishy softness. I'll stay in Theta and talk to the higher-ups.
And by talk, you mean threaten.
Guess my reputation precedes me. I can't deny that one. Reputation? The atmosphere was much lighter compared to when we first returned. The commander was back to joking around, which was a good sign. The others seemed more relaxed, too. Coyote stood with a far-off look in her eyes, one hand clamped over the other at her chest. Depending on how the higher-ups react, they may need some physical persuasion. Which is a fancy way of saying what exactly? Punch him in the face! Or use a little something called hypnosis, just in case we want the less violent option. I love Kaori, though. I love him so much. I love Tokyo so much. And he's very much like whatever, but then in Kaori, he's like, got these giant saucer eyes, and he's like, punch him in the face! He's just so excited to punch him in the face. It's just so adorable. I guess you've all got this under control. We've got the raw power we need. We'll get results. Why, it's been ages since I felt this pumped up. Yikes, they're out for blood. But I guess I knew that given the missions we've done both together. Wow, I can't read. I'm not surprised how much they know at the top. But I'm not sure how much they know at the top. But at the very least, I'm certain they're aware that the outside world exists. Which is kind of fucking even weirder. That the higher-ups in this experiment are like, yeah, we're in an experiment bubble. I don't know. That would be bizarre. If I make them realize that the third planet's completely at the mercy of these outsiders, it should light a fire under their butts. Well, in any case, you can leave things here to us. The commander smiled at me confidently. Rio and I exchanged glances, then turned and bowed our heads in respect. Thanks, Commander. Thanks, everyone. Though we were united in our cause, we had to split up to perform our respective duties. Rio and I headed straight to Tau to discuss the matter with Moravia. On the way, I recalled how Rio stopped me when I suggested we use our powers as a bargaining chip. By the way, Rio, earlier you shushed me when I was about to suggest a solution to the problem. Why is that?
Earlier? Oh, that. You were going to propose using your powers as leverage to get the outside interested in the third plant, right?
I nodded. Rio seemed exasperated.
Silly girl.
Hey, rude! What's wrong with my plan? Rio insult made me mad, but he just responded to my indignation with a solemn look.
Think about it. You want to tell them that the third plant is superhumans running around. If they learn that, it's game over.
How do they not know, though? I just don't understand how the people running this experiment don't know what's happening in said experiment. Like, I mean, I guess it's a very big bubble and experiment, but like, how do you not have sensors and you just send one dude in there to like, that's it? Really? I don't know. There is a lack of fucking planning and foresight on this experiment. You're just like, it's doing some shit. It's concerning.
Of course they'd be fascinated. Fascinated to the point they'd whisk you all the way to their labs and run tests on you until the day you died.
Oh. I hadn't thought of that. I had the sick feeling Rio was right, though. The outsiders already thought so little of us that they'd burn the third plant in an instant. It was foolish to think they'd treat us like humans. And there was no way Coward and the others hadn't noticed my near blunder. Did Coward and the others pick up on that, you think? Rio shrugged and replied that they probably had. He left only as a last resort unsaid. In that case, I understood why the Blooms never suggested the idea themselves. There was too much risk of our allies getting mixed up in it. Well, plus also they already know what it's like to be lab rats because they've already been experimented on, all of them. You know, in their own ways. And they also always go and get checkups and kind of get slight experimented on. So they already kind of know where it was going. We've never had that experience because we just woke up with our powers because we're different. And Misaki stopped us from being experimented on that one time. He's like, we'll leave the new girl out of this one, you know? So, but if it was the last possible option, for the sake of the third plan, I'm sure... Rio squeezed my arm, cutting me off.
No, I'd never let you do that. You told me not to give up, but you're here ready to throw your life away? I'm not the least bit okay with that.
That's kind of romantic.
I would never be okay with that.
His words made my heart pound. Huh. His wording... It's almost like he's trying to make it clear I'm someone special to him. Or something like that. The thought made my cheeks grow warm. What do you mean by that? But Rio only smiled, let go of my arm, and turned to face forward again.
Come on, let's go. The fate of the third plant's in our hands, right?
Yeah. My opportunity to press Rio further was gone. I tottered after him, and on steady legs, I'd be like, but what do you mean? 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 Come on. We got a long way to go. I can do this all day. I'm debating because we're at time, but like it could be 5 minutes. The last time when we finished Ibuki's, it was an extra 20 minutes. But it's like, do we just, I guess? We'll just see what happens. And if it's too long, I'll cut it here and then I'll just edit in a ending and then we'll just have this as a separate part. But if you're hearing me say this, then, you know, whatever. If it's like 30 plus, I don't know, I'll make a decision when we get to the end. So it had been a few weeks since the truth came out. Man, I've been so busy. Every day was such a whirlwind. I couldn't help but mutter a complaint. This kind of feels like it's been a week and now we're just going to kind of tie everything up, kind of an ending already, you know? Let's go back to that day.
Wow, that's quite a plan.
Ibuki seemed on board with our plan to save the third plant. He was much more interested in its fate now compared to the day I was looking for Rio. So you're interested? In that case, we'd like you to play a part.
I think I've helped you all enough. It's time for you to repay the favor.
Ibuki nodded as Rio backed me up.
All right, you've definitely been useful to us, Rio. But I have one condition.
Name it.
You give me all the experimental data Theta has on the birth of the Vectors. Promise me you'll do that.
It was a predictable request from Ibuki and his crew, and knowing the truth as we did, we wanted to fulfill that promise.
It's not for me to promise that, but I can ask Misaki to coax the higher-ups into releasing the information. If we leave it in his hands, he'll get you the answers you need.
Rio wasn't lying or bluffing. Ibuki seemed to know it too because he smiled.
Very well. That'll buy our cooperation for now. I admit, it's going to be amusing to fool these outsiders with a big song and dance.
It was her idea. Rio jerked his head in my direction. Ibuki looked at me with one eyebrow raised.
You thought of a big plan like that?
Oh, well, it was the commander and Rio who pieced together how everything will work. I just had the initial idea.
Yes, but a plan needs a strong foundation to build details upon. Then you laid that foundation down.
Exactly. Learn to take credit. I was admittedly pleased with the praise, even if we hadn't succeeded yet. I couldn't help but grin to myself.
So this is another aspect of that choice I asked you about, Well, I'll tell Hyuga and Yukonami.
It was a huge boon to have the strength of Ibuki and the others on our side. Thank you. We're counting on you. We all smiled at one another. Since that day, Rio's been so busy. Rio had been preparing all kinds of research documents outlining how the flower crystals had properties that supercharged the human body. He enlisted Ibuki, Hyuga, and Yukonami to contribute data that proved the crystal's power. It would undoubtedly seem scientific to the outsiders. In Theta, the commander worked on getting the higher-ups to cooperate with us. Our plan for deceiving the people of the outside world was going well. The commander was able to hide the fact that flower crystals were dropped after felling vectors. This was to prevent anyone from harming them. The outside world ate up the combined reports, data, and Rio's testimony. The plan to eradicate the third plant was scrapped. Rio was no longer a spy. Instead, he'd stay in the third plant and monitor the ongoing situation. He'd remain here from now on and report back to the outside about the merits of the third plant's continued existence. I've been subconsciously steeling myself for the day Rio would return to the outside. So when I found out he was staying, I was relieved. Could you just imagine, though? You have your, I feel like it's probably a magical fucking futuristic utopia, and then you're staying in this fucking hellscape? After those first few tense weeks, a day came when we could finally relax. I wonder how Rio is doing. I smiled, excited to see him. Okay, yeah, this feels like the wrap-up. Even now I was living in Tau instead of Theta. After all, Uncle Yashima and Lizzie were here. Rio spent most of his time in Theta, but he also frequented his bases in the wasteland, so he was often close by. Today was a much-needed day off, and we had plans to meet. When I told Uncle Yashima as much, he waved me off with a smile. I wondered how much my face telegraphed my happiness these days. Up ahead I spotted Rio's base. When I saw the familiar figure standing by the tent, I smiled. Rio! I ran over and Rio stopped messing around with whatever he was doing to look up at me.
Spacey, you were here earlier than I expected.
I love how Uncle Yashima's like, yeah, go hang out with a man alone in his tent, girl. Like, no big deal. Sir! Sir! But also he was like, I let my experiments have sex and have a baby, so like, whatevs! He's not the most responsible person. I came as fast as I could. I wanted to see you.
You just blurt out whatever you're thinking, eh?
Then Rio reached out and mussed my hair good-naturedly. It wasn't like before when we kept our distance. These days he wasn't shy about physical contact. It made me blush, but I loved it. What have you been up to out here?
I've been gathering plant seeds. Here, take a look.
Rio showed me a specimen bottle. Some kind of fluffy-looking plant was enclosed inside. Oh, I see the little seeds. They're under that yellow fuzz, right? But what is it?
It's called a dandelion.
Dandelion? Oh my god, they've never seen a dandelion.
You wouldn't know it being raised in the colony, but it's classified as a weed. Dandelion clocks are usually white, though. It could be a spontaneous mutation, or some sort of environmental adaptation. Either way, it's a fascinating sample.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, yeah, dandelions are weeds, but it's like, they're just cute little yellow flowers. But then when they turn the little white fluff and you go, and you blow all the seeds and everyone's like, fuck, you're making my lawn fill with weeds. It's like, yeah, but they're fun. They're like the fun kind of weeds. Because they're fun to like blow the little dandelion seeds out. They look so fun. Like, come on. Nobody ever did that as a kid? Jesus. It looks like you're having fun.
I've never seen a yellow dandelion clock before. The land's probably filled with secrets. That's why I intend to continue my environmental surveys.
Rio really looked like a kid with a new toy. I wanted to help any way I could. If there's anything I can do to make this easier for you, just say the word. Sure enough, Rio had a job for me right away.
If possible, could you bring me some dirt from Tau? Since the environmental decay varies from place to place, I want a wide sample of data. The more data I have, the more likely I'll find clues on how to improve the environment.
Sure, I'll bring some with me next time. I'm a bit surprised, though. Thought you wouldn't have to do any more ecological surveys, but here you are, carrying on. I used a respectful tone, but Rio narrowed his eyes awkwardly.
Well, there's no need to do it exactly.
So why are you out here? You even set up your tent and everything.
I love camping.
It's a hobby of mine. Oh, well, and there you go. And now just 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Like, sir, you had the glasses, you had a vest, you're kind of a robot, but you like camping? Blech. That's it. That's it. I mean, the age, like, a little inappropriate, but as long as you don't harp on it, I'm okay to pretend and whatever. But then you're going to go camping? Oh, no. No, sir, no. I'm out. So then the surveying.
Just a little something to do to pass the time while camping. I don't know, I'd feel weird just quitting when I've been doing it for so long.
A little something to pass the time while camping. But his experiments seem quite in depth. He's a nerd and I kind of like it. Are you an aspiring mad scientist, Rio?
I wouldn't go that far. Thinking about it, though, I've been called that before. My family always said I had an insatiable curiosity. It supposedly runs in our blood.
His family. Rio's voice grew noticeably softer when he talked about his relatives. Do you miss your family?
Yeah, I wish I could see them.
The expression on his face sent a pang through my chest.
But at the end of the day, we all exist under the same sky. I'll be okay. And as long as I'm alive, I know we'll meet again someday. Until then, I have to make sure I have some good stories to tell on my return.
Yeah, like, here's my wife. She was a lab rat to the lab rats. Odd. Rio's expression lifted, and so did my spirits along with it. I decided now was a good time to ask him a few questions I'd been holding back. You're close with your family, huh? Did you play with your brothers a lot when you were younger?
Yeah, we were always outside, wrestling in the dirt and playing in the mud.
Maybe those good memories are the reason why you love the outdoors so much.
Maybe. I always preferred the outside to being in the house.
Yeah, you know what? You had me, but now you're losing me here. On this whole, like, being outside playing in the dirt, getting dirty. Yeah, nah, you're losing it! You're losing it, game! And I bet you were big on gadgets, like remote-controlled cars and whatnot, right? I looked at the drone that was lying on the ground.
And this isn't a toy. It's a serious tool. For work.
I couldn't forget how Rio's eyes had sparkled like jewels when he used the drone, but I decided against saying anything out loud, for now. Something told me that it would embarrass Rio and cause him to withdraw back into his shell. Hold on. Ugh. My ear's itchy. The drone does have a lot of uses, I admit.
Your superpowers are far more useful and interesting. It must be nice to have them. When the drone got stuck on the roof and the controls went haywire, we only got it back because you flew up there.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. I grinned. I couldn't help it. It was one of my most treasured memories. I'd never actually forget it. A lot had happened since that day. It wasn't as if a great deal of time had gone by, but things just seemed so different now. Feels like years ago. Rio really enjoyed himself that day, too. Reliving the memory made me so happy, it sparked an idea. I'm gonna try it again.
Can we?
Rio responded with so much excitement, my heart soared with happiness. Sure, give me your hand. Rio obediently thrust out his hand. I took it and we held each other tight. No. You're like, yeah, but this time I'm gonna princess carry you. Ready? Here we go. Using my psychokinesis, I pulled Rio's hand and kicked off the ground.
Whoa.
Are you okay?
Yeah, hanging in there.
Rio was off balance for a worrying moment, but he quickly got the hang of things. He kept up with every kickoff I performed, and then...
It'll be easier this way.
Rio slipped his arm around my waist. He was right. It was easier to jump, but his closeness flustered me. I could feel his heartbeat, the warmth of his body. Having him this close to me, it's so...
amazing.
Huh? I almost lost balance for a second. It was as if he'd read my mind.
It's like walking through the air. How many people can say they've ever done anything like this? Being with you, it makes me feel like a child again.
His face looked so innocent, I started to feel embarrassed about how distracted I'd been by him just moments ago. You're way bigger than any kid.
Are you embarrassed?
Not a bit. But now that he was teasing me, I blushed for real. The third plant wasn't completely out of danger. We had no idea what the outsiders were up to. But at the very least, we'd managed to ease the turmoil Rio carried within his heart. Rio's smile... Right now, that's enough to make it worth all the trouble. Aw, that's cute. Now we're up on the roof. Last CG, I'm assuming. We continued to float upwards with my psychokinesis until we reached the highest roof of the old building. There was no need to hold each other anymore now that we had a secure footing, but Rio kept his arm wrapped around me. Oh. I wanted to stay close as well, so I snuggled up against him.
It's a nice view. But the sky is still dark and gray.
Yeah, I guess it'll always be like this. I'd never seen a real blue sky, and knowing I might never get the chance made me feel a little sad. The sky, it's hard to think of it as being connected to Rio's home in the outside world. I felt Rio's hand tighten around mine. I looked in surprise. Rio was smiling warmly down at me.
With you next to me, I can somewhat believe that even this dark sky will turn blue again someday.
God damn with the lines! Oh, Rio.
Spacey, will you always be with me? Then one day, we can see that blue sky together.
Yeah. Enveloped in the warmth of my beloved, my heart grew full and happy. Okay, for a hot second, I was clearly thinking in my head, like, okay, I can see the budding romance, but he keeps his arm, and then now she's like, my beloved, and it's like, okay. He's looking to the future. A future with me. This moment together, staring at the sky, was something I'd treasure. Before us sprawled a new world of possibilities. Maybe one day the gray, opaque clouds would clear away. Somehow even a miracle like that felt possible. Honestly, I don't think it was bad. Yeah, the age difference is a little, not the best, and a little awkward. I think most of it, too, is because she looks 12. So she looks like baby. And then you have a man that's, that much older. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't think that route was that bad. I thought it was pretty good. Wait, hold on. There's one... Oh, they do not like Rio. They did not give him a lot of CGs. If you look at it, we got 9. Well, 22 of everybody else. Most of the blooms, except for... Poor Kamui only got 9. They technically... actually, they get 8, but then there's variations. But, they really, but they didn't like Rio. We only got one version for each of his. They were like, whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad, to be fair. You know? The age difference not my favorite thing, but, taking that aside, I don't think it was that bad. It does, okay, you feel like there's a budding romance, and then there's, the moment, oh, she's all excited to go see him, and, okay, and then, they're having a moment, and then she's like, my beloved, and it's like, okay, that feels like it did come out of nowhere. You knew the romance was there under the surface, but they never really kind of had a confession kind of moment or anything, and then it was just romantic. Done. Over. We're in love. So, okay. Also, the one thing I will say negatively about this entire game, because I've had fun with the game, don't get me wrong, is where the fuck are our kiss CGs? Why the fuck we got so screwed on these for a majority of our characters? This is still probably my favorite CG in the game. That's saying something, because hi, pin me against a wall. I love this. This is what I live for right now. I think it's the best of his CGs, too. You know what I mean? This one's pretty, though. He almost doesn't quite look like himself, but I still really like this one, even though it's kind of sad. It is just weird how they did it, he's holding it up so high above his head instead of just holding it in his palm and looking at it like a normal person. Who would actually stand like this? But it works for the purposes of actually making it pretty and theatrical, you know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't hate it. This kind of he looks almost like a little bit of a puppet. So let's see. Maintenance worker in the academy randomly pops in and out of the campus. Spacey and her classmates have started this urban legend-esque narrative of whoever finds him will be blessed with good fortune. He's also friends with Masaki, okay, who happens to be the commander in charge of the Blooms. Okay. Now this is Otome Kitten's thoughts on him. Let's go to this has to be our end one. I love this one. I'm not really sure why Rio was given a route to begin with. This was honestly random. This was so honestly random. It is a little random because of the age difference. It's very random, to be fair. There's absolutely zero chemistry between him and the heroine. The romance was too forced, too awkward, and very uncomfortable. The uncomfortableness for me is the age difference, but honestly, I didn't actually feel that, too forced and awkward. I didn't think it was that bad. Awkward and slightly uncomfortable because of the age difference thing, yes. Absolutely. If you take that out, I don't think there was anything wrong with it, really. It was so baffling why the heroine suddenly became keenly interested in Rio when they'd only gotten to know each other within the last 24 hours. I'll give her that. That is true, because all of a sudden he's like, yeah, whatever, and she's like, I'm just intrigued, and I want to stalk him and follow him. She did seem a little unhinged, I'll be fair, yeah. Half the time, Rio wasn't even in his own route. I mean, there was like that whole last hour he wasn't in it, so... It was just Spacey trying to mope and figure things out. This route's plot twists were also ridiculous and asinine. They went to this elaborate goose chase only to arrive with a very simple resolution that could have been either way if they had just sat around and talked. Gosh, I feel like I'm being too harsh here, in all honesty. I did like Rio as an NPC, but a love interest he was not. I actually didn't mind him as a love interest, to be fair. The age difference thing still is like, that feels weird and awkward, so I'll give it that. I didn't mind the plot reveals and stuff like that. Like, yes, it's a whole added other level that is insane, but I'm here for insane shit. So it's like, this is ridiculous, but I'm here for that kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't come into this game going, oh my god, this is going to be the best plot, lore, everything's going to be awesome. I kind of came in knowing a lot of people were like, about this game. But I'm like, it's boys who turn into magical girls. I'm just here for the wacky shenanigans. So to be fair, I got exactly what I was looking for in this game. I've had a lot of fun with it. Yes, there are some questionable things, where you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. And yes, some of the characters aren't the greatest overall. Like, I don't really, there really was no romance in Hyuga's route. It's like, it didn't just come out of nowhere. I just felt like it wasn't really there. Like, the romance here was a little awkward because of the age difference. Personal problem. Taking the age difference out, I actually liked this route. I kind of enjoyed him going from being a robot and kind of warming up a little and everything. And was it a little forced and rushed? Yes, but there's only 6 hours in each route, and that's because technically there's only 5, right? And it's really only 5 because I ramble through it. If you just read it straight through, it would only take a couple hours to read them. So you only have a couple hours to build the relationship. So none of them are really, fully fleshed out and that great. They're all kind of rushed. Fair. You know what I mean? And so there isn't, a ton of, we get a lot of character development, a lot of, whatever. There's not a lot of that. For what it is, kind of, quick, fast game. Here's a little plot. It's a little crazy and shenanigans. I mean, I've enjoyed it overall. We still have, obviously, we have to go through all of his bad endings and whatnot. I'm saying this as if we're done, but we've romanced everyone we're going to romance. We have to do the finale route. There's no romance going on in there, so, it's pointless. I mean, it's not pointless. I'm grand finale common route kind of thing. I mean, obviously, I feel like maybe that's going to tie up more of the story and kind of, whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. But since there's no romance, this is basically the end, if you think about it. Yeah, we have a couple more parts to do, but there's no more romance route, so I can give my final thoughts on the overall, romance stuff in the game. Kamui still strikes me being the first one that we played. It's usually the first one we do is oh, I forgot about that. It's still one of the most memorable ones, I'll be honest. I do think that one had the most natural progression, probably because for the 5 hours we spent in his route, we had no plot, really. It was there was a little bit of the vectors, it was kind of the common route, and nothing else really happened. We just kind of kept that same theme, right? And the only development, when that was in the common route, punching Lizzie to death, finding out people turn into vectors when they're attacked. There really wasn't much else. It was all his development, his background. Mihaya's was kind of similar. There wasn't really much. When you start getting more and more building with we got to put the lore into it, it takes away from the characters, so they don't have as much development and time to be fleshed out and have their kind of budding romance fleshed out. You know what I mean? And to be fair, the Bloom's routes were better because you could absolutely believe that she would fall for them, spending time with them in school, whatever. Falling for Yukonami seems a little that man choked you to death. Listen, we like trash here, but I don't know. Usually you have more time with the trash to develop, and this seemed a little, that was whoa. Hyuga, I didn't feel the romance at all. I'm there was no romance. It was we're getting to the point where maybe we could start falling for him. But then his route was over, and it's like, okay, there was nothing there. Ibuki, I think, was a lot better in the, it was the, I'm terrified of him, and then when she kind of understood his background, she was like, okay, and then just magically in love with him. Again, they didn't do as good of building that up as they could have, but it's short. It's a short game, so I'll give it credit. You know, I think his route could have been better, to be fair, but he's still beautiful, so I'm going to give him a pass. Okay? I didn't actually think Rio's route was that bad at all. I really didn't. I was expecting with the Megane part to be like, oh, his route's just going to be kind of meh, but, you know, I didn't think it was that bad. Yeah, he was missing for a portion of it, which is kind of disappointing, and I mean, Atome Kitten does have a point with the, like, we're being obsessed and stalking him. That did seem a little weird, but it was like, I mean, it's just it is what it is, so I'm not mad about it. I guess because I'm coming into this game as like, well, it's going to be short, it's not going to make a lot of sense, there's like, whatever, I'm not, I guess I didn't expect a lot from it. You know what I mean? If you go in like, oh my god, this game, and I expect it to be great, I could see where this would let you down a lot. But I came into this like, boys turning into magical girls. It's gonna be stupid. I expected nothing at all except for boys turn into magical girls, and that's what I got. I think honestly, when it was first like announced release and it was like the whole plot, I was like, you know, they give you the synopsis, you're like, oh, that sounds like it'd be awesome. And then other people's kind of over reviews of like, it was really lacking and it wasn't really great, and people just kind of having an opinion of it kind of tempered my expectations to come in and be like, listen, it's just boys turning into magical girls. I'm here for it. That's my expectation. As long as we meet that, I'm good. And we met that, and I'm good. You know, is it the best game ever? No. Did we have a goddamn good time? Yeah. And honestly, sometimes as we go through games, even if I'm having fun when we get toward the end and later routes, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of tired, like, of playing it. I hate to say that, but you're like, you know, this one I'm like, I've never really been tired of playing it. The only reason that I ever got to the point of like, really, I gotta go back and play that is because I started playing 9-Rip, and I am so fucking addicted to that shit. I played the first route of that game in 3 motherfucking days. I was 13 fucking hours in 3 days. Okay? And I am just like scratching up my skin because I want to get back to it because I love that one so motherfucking much. Like 2 hours in, I was like, I can't, I need to keep. I will be here all night. I'll die sitting here recording I will record that whole fucking game in like just nonstop. Okay? I won't eat, I won't sleep, whatever. like it's been a long time since I've been that addicted. And that is the only reason that coming back to record Ibuki's route, I was like, aw. And I was like, wait, why am I disappointed? I'm enjoying this game. But I was just disappointed because unfortunately, recording 9-Rip, like, outshines this one. But I honestly used to look more forward to recording this than Cupid Parasite, which is sad because I really liked the first one. But, like, you know what I mean? And we had fun playing the fan disc, but I think it's also, too, because these ones are really short. So the routes are really short. You can get them done, and you're not like, we've been here forever. As I say that, and you're like, we've been here forever, Spacey, shut the fuck up. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this one was bad. But we'll come back next part, get all the rest of Rio's endings, and do all the other, like, activity reports and everything that opened. Just making sure it doesn't go gray. And then we'll do the grand finale route after that. So anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.